Welcome back, friends, family, and fun. Today we're going to be talking about an issue that's been surrounding the Genshin community and has been causing a lot of discourse. So as of the last Archon quest, a lot of issues have been surrounding the Fatui Harbingers, as people are complaining that the Fatui Harbingers pretty much lost all their aura and don't feel as threatening anymore, or don't feel as interesting as they did before. Now, this has been an issue since I think around Capitano, with his whole story arc, where players were complaining that they didn't like what they did with this character, but it's become even more prominent now with the new Archon quest. And spoilers if you haven't played it, and if you haven't played it, you should click off this video, save it first, and then you can come back to it. But basically, people feel as if the Harbingers are too buddy-buddy with the Traveler, and they don't feel threatening, and they just kind of feel like they wasted their character, or completely like just changed their character and just feel so boring with them now, and they just feel all like nice in a way, and people's expectations are already how do I word this? People's expectations are So we're going to be discussing if the Fatui that we actually met have been wasted potential, or they lived up to their expectations. So without further ado, let's talk about it. We're going to first talk about Colombina, which is where I think most of the issues came from. I mean, like 90% of the issues came from her, as players' expectations for Colombina's character was completely different than the Colombina we have now. I mean, Colombina now, she is this selfless, kind-hearted woman that we have like in the story that takes a liking to the Traveler. Quite a strong liking to the Traveler, and players were not really happy with this. I mean, the Colombina that players thought we were going to get was this creepy, or you know, this weeping angel that we were expecting to get, and a lot of this came from not only like the community's delusions, but also Hoyo did kind of throw a lot of hints at us that her character would be one way, but I guess it's all about perception at the end of the day. But then again, it was kind of hinting that her character would go another way, so I can kind of see why the community is so riled up about this. But we're going to be talking about what created these expectations of what Colombina was supposed to be like, and if her character was wasted, or if her character is actually good. So let's dive into her backstory, well, not backstory, what created these expectations. So first off, I'm going to start off with voice lines about Colombina, starting off with Child's.
The Fatui Harbingers are ranked by strength, and I have no idea why that girl is number 3. I'd test my skills with every Harbinger who ranks above me if I had the chance. But when it comes to her, something just doesn't feel right. Anyway, you should be careful around her.
But when you initially hear this, you'd probably think, oh, she's completely unsettling. I mean, her character is completely creepy, and you don't think of her as this sweetheart. And considering Child's character, you know he wants to fight everyone. I mean, his master is Skirk, and Child basically is just a fighter, so why wouldn't he want to fight this woman? How strong is she? What's so unsettling about her? And it really led players to thinking like there's something definitely wrong with this Harbinger, and especially after we saw her design and her singing, it's just created so many expectations about like what possibly she could be and all this mystery, and it just kind of built up hype for her. And not only did Child have something to say about her that led the community to thinking that she was creepy, Wanderer also said this.
Let me ask. What should you do if you were to encounter a damsel who is oblivious and innocent at any given time, and unconcerned and unfeeling in any given situation? If it were me, I could at least challenge her to a fight. But if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her.
Now, Wanderer tells us she's not someone we would want to pick a fight with, but I think a lot of people glossed over the fact that he said she isn't oblivious and innocent at any time, so he did kind of like throw off like what her character would be, since she does match those qualities a lot. But I feel like a lot of players read a little bit more into, but if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her, meaning that like with our morality, it looks like she can get inside her head and we would be easily manipulated by her, which I guess it kind of is like foreshadowing, since we did take a liking to her, but I don't think she's negative or anything. I think she's just like this really innocent Harbinger. But again, given what Child said about her and adding it up with Wanderer, she did seem like she would be this really creepy character. Then we have Arlecchino's voice line about her.
She is a very special Harbinger. Pose her a question, and the answer you receive will be entirely unpredictable, if she sees fit to give a proper answer at all. Regardless, any answer you do receive is sure to be an interesting one.
Now, Arlecchino's description of her is rather vague and makes her much more mysterious and opens room for tons of theories, and it makes her seem like this all-knowing angel. I feel as if Child's voice line about her had the biggest impact on this whole idea of Colombina being powerful and a little creepy. But these voice lines, they did create a huge impact on what Colombina's character could possibly be. I mean, everyone's always so hyped when they hear characters' voice lines about people, so when they read this, especially with Childs and Wanderers and Arlecchino, and kind of adds it all together, it just creates so much mystery, and you want to meet her so bad, and you're just thinking like, oh, what she could possibly be. You don't really like, it doesn't like really hit your mind that she would be like this nice character that really likes a traveler, like really likes a traveler. But the main fuel to the fire on Colombina's character was when the Winter Nights Lazo trailer dropped. Now, this trailer had everyone in shambles. I mean, everyone was so stunned by this trailer, and I'm going to be talking about this trailer a lot throughout this video because this trailer, it was so hype, and everyone was so excited for the Harbingers, and everyone's expectations just shot right through the roof, and everyone wanted to get the Harbingers. We wanted all of them playable. Like, they were having a mog off, and they were aura farming. I really need to get off TikTok. You know, if you want to dislike the video, I really don't blame you, but, you know, if you want to go down there, you should subscribe at least if you're going to dislike. I know it's like kind of a trade-off, but I understand if you would want to dislike the video after I just said that, but just to, yeah. Anyways, in the trailer, we hear Colombina singing, and she's singing in this soothing voice, but the weird part is, she's kind of smirking in her own little world over at Signora's funeral memorial thingy. So automatically, players are gonna think she is creepy because she's not adding to the conversation at all, not until the very end, and she's just singing, and she doesn't seem to have a care in the world, and it automatically makes her stand out as everyone is talking with each other or saying snarky remarks, but there she is, just quiet and in her own little world singing. But after doing the Archon quest, we can kind of see why she was in her own little world. I mean, she really didn't have much to say with the rest of the Harbingers. I mean, she really only talked with Capitano, Arlecchino, Sandrone. She really only had conversations with them since all the tea parties, so it does kind of add up to what her character is today. But another video, and this is completely the community's fault for creating this narrative on how her character would be, but I'm not gonna lie, this trailer was video was so well done, and it was a video submitted into Hoyo Fair. Now, this video is so well done, and honestly, I gotta say, I love the entire vibe of it, and I can definitely see why people would want this version of her, and you should definitely go watch the video to get a full grasp of what I mean. But in this video, we can kind of see that she's like sort of like some analog horror character, and we can see a bunch of eyes opening and just give this biblically accurate angel vibe, and it's kind of scary with all the eyes, especially if you're not like too comfortable with a bunch of eyes everywhere, if you have tryphobia or whatever. But it really does make you like unsettling, and it's so uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people, especially people that are not too into the community, they probably thought of this as like some canon trailer and were confused by it and were so excited because of this. And since it was done submitted to Hoyo Fair, people probably thought, oh, this is what Hoyo's hinting her character is going to be like, and it got people so excited. But then again, it is the community's fault because it is a Hoyo Fair video, so it's automatically not going to be canon. But it did create a lot of delusions in people's heads. But once again, this video was so well done. I mean, come on guys, it was cool. But when we finally meet Colombina, she's avoidant in conversation, and she really does give this mysterious vibe in the beginning of it, as she's not too comfortable with us, or not really comfortable, she just expects us that like we want something from her, as that's been her whole past. I mean, her whole past is basically about people getting things from her, things that are like so out of reach or so like out of touch, and she just fulfills all these requests for people. So it does kind of explain why she's so avoidant in conversation of what we saw in Winter Nights Lazo. But as for the explanation as to how her character links up with what we saw about what we heard from Child and Wander, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, once you hear that the top three are ranked like the strongest and their power like can be like ascended from gods, and obviously you're going to be intimidated by them. But I feel like since Child specifically said that if I were you, I would stay away from her, and Wander did the same thing, it really does create this whole narrative that she's just really creepy. But in their defense, I guess Wander, we can't really trust too much of what he said since he was kind of beefing with everyone. I mean, he really didn't like anyone there, but I think he kind of warms up to them in the new Archon quest. And as for Todd, I mean, to be fair, I don't think they had too much of conversation, so that kind of explains what he said about her. And honestly, when you give her a first glance and she's just in her own little world, I mean, it seems unsettling, but then again, it gives no justification for that explanation and leading us one way to thinking what her character would be like, so that's kind of why people are really mad about how her character turned out. And a lot of people don't really like the fact that Colombina is like really likes a traveler, and a lot of people, they just don't really like that. But honestly, I kind of expected it from Hoyo, from one character to be like that, at least to the main character. But to be fair, I will say the Fanon Colombina, which is like this creepy Colombina, what everyone wanted, I will say I low-key would have preferred that, as I feel as if we don't have that many creepy characters in Genshin. Well, we don't have any creepy characters in Genshin, and it would be cool to have that change of pace in characters. But to be fair, I mean, Colombina's character, I like Colombina's character now. I really like what they did with her, especially since she's representative of a dove, and we know doves are all about purity and innocence, and that's what Colombina represents. I mean, she did live up to what her whole expectation is with the whole angel vibe, so it really does like give justification as to what her character is now, and I do like it, and I do like where they're going with her character. But would I have preferred a different version of her? Yes. Did Colombina live up to the hype? Not exactly, but am I disappointed? No. But let me know what you guys think of Colombina down in the comments, especially anything interesting about her character, or anything I might have missed that kind of raised expectations, or anything that I said wrong. Let me know down in the comments. Next up, we have Father, Arlecchino. What number does she place in the Fatui Harbingers again? Now, the main reason why I want to talk about Arlecchino a little bit is because people have been saying that her character completely changed and she's not the same as she was before, or, you know, her character, she was made out to be this crazy or evil person from what we can see in her backstory. Anyways, a lot of issues have been coming up with her recently, but what really sparked this fire with Arlecchino is of her wearing cat ears. Yeah, when this picture started floating around social media, and players who haven't touched Not Krai yet, or stopped playing the game like after they met her or something, they were just completely stunned by this. I mean, I don't think I would have ever saw Arlecchino wearing cat ears like 2 years ago, but there is a reason why. It is kind of surprising to see her wearing cat ears, I will say that. But there is a reason, but we're going to be diving into Arlecchino's character, since a lot of people believe that she's gone like a little bit softer, and people really expected her to be this heartless woman, and we weren't really expecting her to, you know, care so much for Colombina as to completely losing her cool, and once again her wearing cat ears. So let's get into Arlecchino. Now, Arlecchino's character, she's complex, and I know you must get tired of hearing people hide behind the, oh, they're just a complex character, you wouldn't get it, but I truly believe Arlecchino is a complex character.
I've got nothing against people who have their own agendas. I myself joined the Fatui to get more experience in combat. But I don't like her at all. If she stood to benefit from betraying others, she'd turn against the Tsaritsa in a heartbeat. There isn't a sane bone in her body.
Childs perceives her as crazy and would be quick to backstab even the Tsaritsa, which we'd probably see in the next Archon quest if she refuses to fight against La Torre. But, you know, we weren't expecting her to have like such a strong relationship with her co-workers, her Harbingers, so it was really surprising to see how much she actually cared for Colombina. So I think that's what made people really confused. I mean, she didn't seem like she would get too like bonded with her Harbingers. But next up, we have Wanderers.
A wolf in sheep's clothing. To exert a higher level of control over people, she puts on a graceful and cordial front. Most of those who have seen her true crazy self have gone poof.
Now, a lot of people thought she was going to be completely like crazy, like just not all right in the head, like she would completely lose it like from time to time, and she will start maniacally laughing from time to time. But obviously this isn't what he was hinting at, but a lot of people really perceived her as her being completely just out of her mind. What's that term for calling people crazy? I don't remember. Now, for all these voice lines, it's important to note that these are their characters' like perception of another character, so it shouldn't be taken like too strongly. But then again, it is in the game, and this is what they think of it and of their character, and usually it's true most of the time. But you know, it's important to note that what they think could be something completely different. Now, I will say Arlecchino is crazy, but in a weird way, or not a traditional way that you would see a character become or be crazy. Now, Arlecchino, she's a character that has humanity with her, as we saw in her story quest, and she cares for people in a very interesting way, and when someone threatens or opposes what she stands for, she will make sure that person never opposes her again, as we've seen from what she's been doing. And I think this mainly stems from her childhood. I mean, she had to find a way to stop Colombina, and when she did, she took care of everything, and it worked out after. So why would she stop doing what works for her, which was Colombina? So why would she, you know, not do it again? But she still is a person who cares, and we can see it from her relationship with Linny, Lynette, and Fremine, and she's thinking of them constantly. And she isn't just this completely emotionless character or outright insane, but she does insane things. But in Winter Night's Lasso, we get a glimpse into what she's really like.
Rosaline died in a foreign land. But you heartless businessmen and dignitaries, always with a convenient excuse to remain in the comfort of your homeland, you couldn't hope to understand. So why don't you keep your mouths shut? We don't want to make the children cry.
But well, I will say, when Arlecchino lost her composure and wanted to draw blades against La Torre from Colombina, I think it mainly stemmed from her hatred towards La Torre. I mean, she really does not like him at all, so I think that's part of the reason why she completely lost it, and she really just doesn't mess with him. I don't think it was like solely because of Colombina. Sure, she does respect her and likes her, but I don't think it's solely because of her, or I could be completely wrong, but I feel like just diving into her character a little bit more, I feel like it's mainly because, you know, she had such beef with the Torre. But obviously in the Archon quest, we can see their relationship developing even more, and all their tea parties together. So obviously Arlecchino, she did have a good relationship with Colombina, but I don't know, I feel like a lot of people like are perceiving like her getting like super angry, like completely out of character, but I do kind of think it was in character for her, as we did see in the Fontaine Archon quest when Arlecchino was arguing with Farina and she got mad and started to raise her voice a little bit, but she didn't like downright lose it, but she did boast Farina. So I don't think, you know, it's completely out of character for her to care this much about another character, or, you know, completely lose her cool. Now we'll get into the cat ears now. Since I did mention that Arlecchino has humanity with her, so obviously she's still a person and she's still allowed to feel emotions, so that's why she wore the cat ears when she was thinking of Lynette. So she was probably just enjoying herself at a festival. So it was, I think this writing, it was mainly just a whole, like the whole Archon quest, I feel as if it was a whole calm before the storm thing, and I feel like people are taking it like a lot out of like proportion. But then again, she was enjoying herself and she was just enjoying Colombina's send-off, so I don't think we should dive too much into it or think that Hoyo completely changed her character, because a lot of people have been complaining that Arlecchino just doesn't feel the same and she's not as threatening as anymore, but I feel like she's always been this way. So did Arlecchino live up to expectations as a Harbinger? 100%, yeah. Next up, I'm going to be talking a little about Wander, but this is going to be a little short since I don't think there was too much complaints about how his character ended up. But basically, Wander, his character, when he was first introduced, he had a huge fan base that was kind of really evil if you kind of like met a lot of people within the fan base. I mean, if you said one bad thing about him. So I'm going to be speaking very and treading very lightly on what I say about Wander. But basically, Wander / Scaramouche, when we first met him, he was really evil and he had a lot of hatred in his heart, and that's what we basically met, and that's what we were expecting for Harbingers to be. All of them to be primarily evil and pretty much the antagonist of the Traveler. But Scar's character, a lot of people love Scar and a lot of people wanted him playable, but obviously we couldn't have a really evil character like how Scar was originally. We couldn't have an evil character like that be playable. So what Hoyo did was they gave him a whole redemption arc. If he wasn't a playable character, the community would have a huge problem with that. So I do see why they did that, and they did the best with what they could have. Now it could have been a little bit better with what they did, but obviously this set up room for the whole rivalry between Wander and Dottore, so it was good writing there. But did Wander meet expectations? I would say yeah. A lot of people like Wander now, and honestly I like his character now, but a lot of what he did, I don't think it could be erased, and I don't think a lot of this character should be forgetting what he did. But well, I mean, I guess they did kind of erase his memory, so as far as you and I know, he didn't do anything. This guy, he's just a mean guy from the academia. Next up, we have Signora. Now, Signora, her character, Signora's backstory, it's really sad to me, because, you know, we've seen what happened with her husband. If you don't know too much about her backstory, you should definitely go watch a video on it. It's really cool to get into these things. But Signora, she obviously had her reason to become evil, and she did a lot for the Harbingers. I mean, when we first met her, she went up to Mondstadt, kicked Venti, went on with their day, went to the next region, got the Gnosis there, and went to Inazuma, was going to claim the Gnosis there. I mean, she was this big bad villain, so obviously people were thinking, oh my gosh, wow, I can't believe these Harbingers are that evil. This is so cool to have like such a cool villain. And her design, I will never get over how nice Signora's design was, and I'm really sad that that design was just, we can't have that design in game. But obviously I'm glad she's not playable, because she died a villain, and she was a really good villain. And her send-off, it was, I feel like we could have had a little bit more interactions with Signora. I feel like we kind of just like had a few interactions with her, and then she just got kicked off the screen, which is a reoccurring problem, which I'll be talking about soon. But overall, Signora, she did live up to her hype, and when she was executed, it was a very hype moment for Genshin, so she did great. So she did live up to expectations. All right, so now we have Capitano, and this side is gone. Alright, now I dreaded talking about this, but now we have Capitano. And you can see from my lovely drawing of him, to give you guys like visualization. Yeah, this is him like sitting in his like chair, his resting place. Now, Capitano, I feel like I'm just gonna outright say this, I think he has impeccable writing with his character. I mean, he respected his duel with Moika and such, but anyways, he did not live up to his hype, and unfortunately I had to say that for what they did with this character. Now, Capitano, I do understand, and it's important to note that I do understand his character and why he had to kick the bucket. Well, not really kick the bucket, or just sit in his final resting place. I do understand why he had to take Moika's place to fulfill his promise, but I feel they did it so unbelievably wrong. Now, I don't mind him not being playable. I have a problem with the amount of screen time this guy got. It feels like we met him, and then not too long ago, he was kicking the bucket. I was so baffled by this. We have a character with so much hype surrounding him, the #1 ranking Harbinger, the captain, the strongest human alive, and they give him the amount of screen time this guy got is so criminal to me. I mean, Capitano, his character, he had such good writing, like his whole like being respected by everyone. I love that. Now, once again, I don't have a problem with him like sacrificing life, but the writing felt so sloppy, I had to say, with what they did with this character. He did not live up to the hype, guys. I mean, when you have a character with so much titles surrounding him and so much hype, you gotta do more with him. You gotta give him more screen time. The amount of time he got in Natlan, it was so bad, and all these voice lines about him, all this hype surrounding him, just for him to just end up like this, it feels so wrong to me. But most likely and hopefully, the reason why I don't want to talk too much about him, other than this small little rant, is I feel as if he's gonna come back. I know it's really delusional to think that, but honestly, with all this, with what they did with him, there's just no way he's not going to show back up again. I know it wouldn't make too much sense with the writing just for him to come back, but I'm sure they'll find a way around it. But for him to just go out like this, it feels so wrong. Like, again, I like the story, but I mean, come on, I can't be the only, come on. Now, I was going to talk about Child, but why would I ever want to spend time talking about Child? No, but in all seriousness, I don't think anyone has a really issue with this character at all. I feel like he has been the same for years, and any like hatred towards him, it's probably for not like any genuine reason. They just dislike Child. But anyways, I feel as if the Harbingers, they were brought on to be this villainous organization that all they do is bad, and we didn't really, and expectations for them were they were all like made out to be a villain, especially when we first met Signora, and Child like kind of like threw us off on like what the Harbingers, like what they represent and if they're good people or not. And then, you know, Scaramouche came in and we immediately thought they were evil once again. So I feel like a lot of expectations, they were like just made out to be this really evil group. But then again, it's important to note that the Harbingers, they're not good people, and what they do is they aren't good people, guys. It's really important to take that into account. But obviously they're all still people, and they all have their deals with the streets, so they don't all share the same goal. They're all in it for their own good. Since they each have a deal with streets, I'm not exactly sure like too specific about like what their deal is or anything, but you can make theories on what they had with the streets. So I kind of think that a lot of like the hatred that the Fatui Harbingers are getting was because of like all these expectations on, hey, camera focus, a lot of the expectations that they had, it was mainly stemmed from like a lot of theories about them that were probably like all this Harbinger is probably evil, or like a lot of voice lines. So obviously the community is going to think like one way, especially with all the things that Hoyo gives us. But I feel as if the Fatui Harbingers, the state that they're in, they aren't made out to be like, I think it's really important to note that they do have like a huge influence on most of the nations, and they do play a huge role in the story. They aren't like the most like notorious group in, you know, all of Hoyo or all of Genshin right now. But I do feel for players that are disappointed with the state of the Harbingers right now. But I mean, with how it's going right now, I kind of enjoy the story right now. I really love what they're doing with the Torre, and I wish we had like more Harbingers that were like that evil and oppose the Traveler a lot. But a lot of people want the Harbingers playable, so obviously they can't make them all evil, so they have to make them like have like they can't be like just like full on like evil. They have to be like morally like gray and just have like some sort of like redemption to them so that they can actually be playable. And it's really important to note that. I do think they all have their aura, unless we're talking about Capitano, which I'll never forgive Hoyo for ever. But let me know your thoughts and concerns about the Harbingers, and if you think that they lived up to their expectations or the Harbingers are really disappointing. And thank you again for watching, and please make sure to watch my other videos. And if you haven't subscribed, you should definitely do it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.